What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Review for Demon Slayer Season 2. This is episode 3, and with me, as always, I have Bluespade.
This new episode of Demon Slayer pretty much focuses on the sixth Upper Moon demon named Daki. So they pretty much display her brief history of how long she's been working over at the entertainment district, including like all the way back during the Edo period, in which there were several occasions where headmistresses would confront her about her actions, about several different women disappearing either by suicide or through other means. And before they can really confront her about that, she ends up killing them off camera, or on several instances, out of view of the public.
Yeah, I think they what did they refer to her as, like Warahime or something like that? But
I
apparently, like one
up.
of the mistresses, they confronts her in the brief flashback sequence we get, which they say takes place like a couple of days before Tanjiro and the others infiltrated the brothels. Is that the woman says that apparently, like throughout time, I guess there have been women like her that were just called, like, referred to as Hime. And I'm guessing that it's probably like technically the same person or the same demon, which is her, but she, I guess, went by different names throughout time. Because obviously, she's probably like very old considering she's one of the upper demons.
Yeah. And we can see her display like how lethal she is by I think those things she uses are called obi sashes. So she apparently controls them at will and uses them as like as almost like whips or weapons to entrap her enemies whenever she wants. And then of course the episode shortly picks up after the events of the last episode, where Inosuke's trying to investigate what happened to one of Tengen's wives, which ends up being Makio, who's in the process of being interrogated by Daki. But of course, Inosuke tries going into her room and notices she's not even there, but also sees that all of her belongings and all of her stuff. He can obviously tell that there was a fight that happened inside that room, and he eventually senses that there's somewhere up above the ceiling. So he tries to get their attention, get Daki's attention. But of course, I think Daki was like not even physically there. I think it was just only her obi sashes that she was controlling from a distance.
Yeah, because we see later on that she shows up at the brothel where Zenitsu's at. Yeah, she probably wasn't there. But of course, like, Inosuke tries to pursue her, but she ends up, or I guess, her sashes technically end up getting away. Like, it's kind of funny because as he's like trying to pursue her, he ends up punching one of the guests. I mean, at this point, I don't know how he hasn't like blown his cover or anything with the way he's acting. I mean, same thing with Zenitsu. It seems like Tanjiro is like the only one who's really like trying to trying to get, sort of get in the good graces of the people who took him in. And I also kind of like, it's also kind of hard to believe that nobody is seeing through their disguises. And also just very lazy disguises too, because all they do is change their hair, and they still have the same voices and everything. So I mean, I don't know how they're being fooled by it. I guess if you told me like they were using illusion magic or something like that to fool people that think they were women, I might, I'd probably believe that, I guess. But it's not anything like that. They're just, changing their hair, but they still, like, everything else about them is the same.
Yeah, and physically, that's not, is an obvious giveaway.
Yeah.
Too, and so like earlier we mentioned that that Daki is also in the same brothel as Zenitsu was. So Zenitsu like caught wind of a girl in distress. So he goes into the room and sees like a little girl who apparently has been physically abused. And then, of course, unfortunately for him, Daki ends up sneaking up behind him, asking what's happened. And then, of course, she ends up berating the little girl, even pulling her ear so hard to the point where she almost rips it off.
Yeah. Of course, that's when Zenitsu like grabs her arm and tells her to stop. But of course, Daki doesn't really like people opposing her, so she eventually kind of like slaps him away or something. I think it just forces him into the wall, like pushes him into a wall. But yeah, he. I kind of knew he wouldn't be able to stand up to her at all. But fortunately, at least he stops her from doing whatever she was about to do to that girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course we also get another flashback. I mean, we did kind of briefly mention that before, but it shows off it takes place about 2 days before Tanjiro and the others arrive at the entertainment district, and it shows another headmistress of the same household that Daki works at, and so she tries to call her out for her apparent actions, and well, of course she's been letting it go for some time now, but it got to the point where she just can't stand by and let this happen anymore. So as soon as she has this dagger on her back to try to at least maybe try to kill her, but unfortunately that's not going to work on someone like Daki. So she apparently is able to levitate her all the way up above the rooftops, and then just suddenly just drops her down to the ground, making it appear like if the woman committed suicide by falling off or something.
Yeah, and of course, not too long after this, we see that Muzan shows up and is basically just it pretty much just tells her she needs to try to lay low a little bit more, I guess, because she's been killing too many humans.
Yeah,
and
apparently she's killed 7 different Hashiras before, which is a bit surprising, but I don't think it's that surprising for Muzan because he notifies her that one of the Hashiras, Tengen, including 3 other demon slayers, are headed her way. So that's where this is of course where we are up to this point right now.
Yeah.
And so by the end of the episode, it takes place during a post-credit scene, and we see Zenitsu recovering from from that slap that he endured from Daki, and he's being taken care of by the three girls that he ended up helping. And of course, there was a couple instances where he nearly blew his cover, which I'm surprised that. I don't know if they really caught on or not, but I just still think it's really dumb that that his cover's not even blown that easily for whatever reason. But as soon as the 3 girls leave, Daki's obi sashes all of a sudden surround him and then just entrap him at the end of the episode.
Yeah. Of course, the only other thing that we see from, is from Tanjiro's perspective, where he really doesn't have much to do in this episode aside from just doing house chores for the brothel that took him in. But yeah, other than that, he doesn't really have anything to do in this episode. It's really just more so about Inosuke and Zenitsu.
Yeah, and we don't even see Tengen in this episode.
No.
He doesn't even make one appearance in this episode. Neither does do we know what happened to the other 2 of Tengen's wives. All we see is Makio being trapped and interrogated by Daki, but we don't even know what happened after Daki's sashes escaped Inosuke.
Yeah, we're not really sure where she got taken. Maybe we'll see the other wives, maybe she got taken to wherever they are being held. And that might be how we were introduced to them, but I'm not really sure. But yeah, I mean, this episode really did feel like it went by pretty quick. But it was still a pretty decent episode. It was really more so about just kind of introducing the villain, Daki, and just giving us her a little bit of her. I guess a bit of her backstory. They'll probably delve more into it later. But yeah, that's more so what this episode was about, and I think it was necessary just to give us an idea of who she is.
and not to mention like how dangerous and fearful everyone else is around her, and whether or not they know what she is at times.
Yeah, we also see that apparently like everybody else in the brothel just pretty much worships her and has to do whatever she says. Of course they're terrified of her and don't want to oppose her. So if like when Zenitsu decided to intervene, they said they would harshly punish him or her. If they think it's a girl, but they'd harshly punish Zenitsu, basically just to appease her. Unless otherwise I guess they're just afraid of what she might do.
Another thing I want to point out is that Daki is like literally the only person that caught on that Zenitsu's not a woman. So that, but of course she doesn't like go around.
Because I didn't.
She did say that like that she knows that Zenitsu's a guy instead of a woman, but she doesn't go around telling everybody else that.
I guess she doesn't really care to it doesn't matter to her if that secret's out or not.
Yeah.
But it's also probably because she doesn't know that, she might not know he's a demon slayer, he's part of the demon slayer corps.
Well, actually, no, I think she knows. She just doesn't perceive Zenitsu as much of a threat because she knows he's not a Osh. But she goes, but at the end of the episode, she does end up entrapping Zenitsu with her obi sashes. So we don't know what happens to Zenitsu at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I kind of took that as her still being, of course, upset with him stopping her like he did. But yeah, I think she's probably gonna try to interrogate Zenitsu and try to figure out what his plans are. So that'll probably be something that happens in the next episode. And because of that, either Inosuke or Tanjiro or both of them might sense that there's something wrong, or they might try to rescue Zenitsu. So that could be what might happen next. But so far this is pretty good. I like where it's going, but I don't really have too much else to say about it. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, I like this episode. It displays like on how dangerous this new demon that they're going up against compared to how when they were going up against Akaza during the Mugen Train arc. But this is like, but I don't know. It was like Rengoku, who was the only person who fought against Akaza. It's pretty much like Tanjiro and everybody else going up against Daki in this particular arc. So it's gonna be like one of their biggest challenges they have ever faced yet.
Yeah, I mean they do have Tengen helping them out, but yeah, I mean it probably isn't gonna. We're not really sure. Like I don't even know if he might be on the same level as Rengoku or anything like that. So, but yeah, obviously, like I kind of wonder if he's gonna actually help them out when they have to end up in a fight with her. I'm sure there'll probably be a few fights with Daki where they probably don't have Tengen's help, so they might have to just rely on each other or something to try to take her down. But yeah, I mean, I guess that being said, guys, until next Sunday, we will see you all next time.